What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Digital Art with Jesus Conde, and today we're going to be painting this character. I gotta be honest, I don't usually do characters, it's not my main thing. I've been trying to get into characters for some time, so I'm constantly, you've just seen my Instagram. Lately I've been doing a lot of anatomy and posting it as a story on Instagram just to keep me practicing and to be constant with the practice of anatomy in a daily basis. So yeah, it's something I wanted to try for some time. As you can see, I scanned the original drawing I did on paper. I'm trying to draw a lot more on paper lately too. So it's something I'm gonna be doing lately. If you want to see this kind of stuff, just let me know in the comments that you want to see more character design. Or if you want to see me drawing another character that you like more popular from a TV show or something, just let me know. Just know that I will do it this way, not with no so much crazy poses and facial expressions, because I'm still having a really hard time doing that kind of thing. So as you can see, I got my image scanned from paper. I'm using 300 resolution on my scanner, which is nothing crazy, just kind of like a normal thing to do actually. And right now I'm just trying to clean the drawing. Clean, not really, because my lines are not that clean. I hate using the how you call that, the thing that makes the line softer, like curves. I hate the tool for some reason. I gotta feel like what I'm doing at the moment with my hand. I don't like the assistance of the drawing of some softwares. And in this case, I usually deactivate that tool, because I don't like the help of the computer to make the lines. Depending on what I'm doing, sometimes if I really need to do something very precise, I will use it. But if it's drawing freehand like this, normally I don't use that kind of thing. So the reasoning behind the character, it's supposed to be a pilot, but at the end it kind of like end up looking more like a superhero instead of a pilot. So I'm having a hard time modifying this character to make it look more makes more sense for the theme that I want. So the first idea was that this guy has some kind of a suit that he connects to the ship that he's flying. It's kind of like a futuristic kind of thing. And then the style of the character is supposed to be more like if any of you have seen the movie Fifth Element, it's kind of like a little bit of inspiration from there, but it ended up looking more like I don't know, it's like a superhero instead of a pilot. It's supposed to be a racing pilot, actually. It's not like a pilot for how you call that, like a fighter pilot or something. No, it's more like a racing kind of pilot. You know, like a race ship, I guess it will be called. And obviously you will need a suit that represents the team that you're racing for, and something like that. But because it's a future and it's kind of like this crazy future, it's not like a super clean, neat branding on the ships or something like that. It's more like if you remember Star Wars Episode 1, all the ships were different, the pilot looked different, everyone looked different. So there's nothing like a fancy kind of a same ship for everyone, kind of like a Formula 1. No, it's nothing like that at all. It's more like everyone has of course it will have like limits, or it will have like rules in terms of maybe how fast the ships can go or something like that, but never like the shape. The shape of the ships will all be different. As a result, all the pilots too will be completely different. Alright, so about the image that I'm doing right now, the gray background, normally when I'm tracing a drawing that I did, I just put a gray layer with the paint bucket. There's a gray layer there, and put like a 50 or 70% just to be able to trace without losing the original drawing, but not too much that doesn't allow me to draw new things on top of it. So that's why I use gray. Also because it hurt my eyes. I don't like the hurting my eyes with the white. I have a large screen, is 27 inches, so having a lot of white makes me feel bad. Gives me headache and stuff like that. So I don't like to use a lot of white. Sometimes I turn it on and off. So right now what I'm doing is just create a new layer. Obviously you want to have all the layers of the lines together and make them black, because the ones that I had were blue. To make them black, you can just press Ctrl U, and you will go to hue and saturation. Just send everything to dark in the luminance and block that layer. You want your lines to be blocked, so you don't get any mistakes in there. So then just make a new layer where you're going to paint a silhouette. Now this silhouette, which is that gray color in the background, in the character, it's gotta be constant. You cannot have opacity in it. So it gotta be just gray, solid gray in there. And then what you're gonna do is create a new layer on top. You can block the layer of the silhouette. You're gonna create a new layer on top, and you're gonna make something that is called clipping mask. When you create a clipping mask, whatever that is clipping, is gonna stay inside of that. So if I have this layer where I have the silhouette of the character, and then I create a new layer on top, right click and press clicking mask, whatever I draw in that layer is gonna be inside of that silhouette that I did. So if you take that in consideration, you don't want to have something with opacity. So everything that is the silhouette that you do have to be solid color. You're gonna have any opacity in there, because whatever you draw on top is gonna get the opacity of whatever you have on the bottom. So as you saw, I started the face with really dark colors, using brown mostly, and then I started to put a little bit of lighting. I'm using blue to light the skin because of something else I saw a really long time ago. There was this girl that did these paintings. I think her name was Linda Bergqvist, and she made this really awesome painting. That girl is really impossible to find these days. If you look for her on the internet, you can see her images, but you won't be able to see new works. I think she disappeared from the internet or something. The thing is, she started to use like photos, and I think she traced the photos, something that is normally do these days, but at that time it wasn't very well seen. So people kind of destroy her work by criticizing a lot and like being bullies with it. And then she disappeared completely. I don't know if she changed her name in the art community, but if you can definitely find her if you look for Linda Bergqvist. Very, very beautiful painting. So she used to use the blue color to light the skin, because she will say something like the colors pop. when you use a warm, cold color on top of a warm color, if they are light colors, they will pop. So having light blue on the skin will make things look way more interesting than if you make the specular lighting on the face or in the skin of the same color of the skin. So that's why I normally use a light blue to make the highlights on the face, and especially like in the nose or something around the lips. But in this case I use it everywhere on the face. Everything else, as you can see, is pretty much just taking the same color and putting a little bit more saturation and lightness and just painting with that. Also the opposite for the shadows. I'm not using colorless shadows like I've used in other cases. Normally what I would do is just make all the shadows bluish, but I went very pure with the colors in this one. It's just an artistic decision. It's not right or wrong really, depending on what you're doing. What else can I say? So obviously I'm using the same brush that I normally use for everything. You can download it in the link in the description. What this brush does is that it changes the hue slightly and the tone. The tone and hue are the same thing basically. The brightness and hue changes constantly every time you make a brush stroke. Every time you make a brush stroke, it will change a tiny bit, and that will make some variations in color. And doing this, you will get like interesting results in terms of color, or at least that's what I think of when I'm doing it. But I definitely wouldn't get the same results if I use it. If I try to replicate the same thing using just a normal brush. That if I want to do color variations, I will have to do it by hand, and that will be like way more difficult for me at least. This way I get a lot of color variation, and if I like another color that I have in there, I just pick it with a color picker, and that will be it for me in my process. Okay, so I got rid of the star because I thought the star makes him look more like some kind of a military thing instead of a normal pilot. It will look more like a superhero. So from this point I'm trying to rescue the idea of the pilot thing. So sadly I got to the point that I'm like, this is not working at all, and I cannot start a new painting because I actually like what I have right now. So what do I do? So let's just sketch a little bit more. And I started to think of alright, so how can we adapt the story of this character to make it work with a new idea? So if I take as a reference what I was talking about, the universe that I want to put this character on, things will have to be a little bit more loose in terms of aesthetics. Maybe having tattoos, maybe having dirty clothing or damaged, something that is more like a recycled kind of a mentality instead of something so clean. The suit actually could be damaged somehow. So right now I'm just sketching a little bit more and trying to think of how can I rescue this image with a new idea. And the concept of this jacket came out. I thought it was cool to have a jacket on top of everything. So the suit of the character will be more like for protection, maybe like those kind of suits that the Formula 1 guys uses for fire, so they don't get burned, and it's more like a protection kind of thing. Then I expanded the head part for something more like a helmet, but it's a very tight helmet. And then it's basically just adding a lot of detail in lines to everything, a couple of medals there, and then I put stickers. I thought a sticker was a nice thing to have in this character, because it kind of shows that you have a kind of like a more loose kind of thing. It's not so serious when you can add stickers to a theme that you have in your head. Is definitely not so serious. So especially because of the theme kind of thing. Alright, so then I'm like just trying to get myself into the mood of painting this thing again, because I'm actually like trying to count the time that I'm spending on it, and I'm seeing that the progress took a hit, but the idea I like it more. So it's kind of like there's a balance in there. I'm feeling a little bit depressed because I have to get rid of a lot of stuff that I had, but at the end it will pay off, because in my mind the character looks way better. You guys will be the judges of that, but if I feel comfortable with it, that's more important in my opinion. That I like the final product. So doing these changes obviously makes it more appealing to me. Okay, so now deciding what new colors to put, and maybe it could even be like stickers of not even something from Earth. It could be something like I don't know, like a brand of a team in another planet or whatever. Maybe some kind of a sponsor, or it could be something that he's just fan about. The thing is that in the characters that I'm trying to develop, I will try to be constant, are part of a universe that I want to create, that it's more about like if you think of episode 1 in pod racing, it's more like there were characters from all over the place, or different planets and sizes, and the ships were all different. There were rules, but it was a bit loose, like people could like hit other ships and stuff like that, and that's kind of like the reasoning behind the concept of the character. Now what I'm going to do is just get a really tiny brush, really tiny, not so tiny, it's like 7 pixels right now. Tiny will be like 2 or 1 pixel. 1 pixel brush I think is too much, like depending on what you're doing. If you want to learn, I've heard that the painting with 1 pencil brush, like doing an entire drawing, anatomical or whatever, with 1 pencil brush, will make you work so hard that you will definitely learn things. So that's a good tip. But because I'm not too much interested in that right now. I wanna try to finish this painting soon. 7 is a good size. It's not like super detailed, but it's not loose either. It allows me to get into tiny places, but it won't take too much time to paint something. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish, to have that balance in how big the brush is, considering that all that information. Alright, so now I'm adding a little bit of backlights or field lights, however you want to call it, because it's coming from the side, and also a little bit of detail, like some scratches on the helmet, or tiny shadows, whatever they need to be. Right now here I'm adding a little bit of bounce light because I have that yellow in there, so I put a little bit of bounce light on the jaw, and then just adding more definition to everything, because some of the lines are very, very sketchy still. I haven't put any detail on them at all, and in general, just making these little details everywhere will make the image better, but you have to be aware of where the lighting is coming from and where the shadow is, because if you don't, what you could get is a very flat painting. Sometimes I've spent hours painting details, and what I end up with is a very flat painting, because I didn't pay attention of where the light was coming from or where the shadows were. So that's very important to keep in mind. Also, the edges are very important depending on what you're doing. Some people will say the edges are, you can keep the edges loose, since when you take a picture or something, the edges of people doesn't seem to define. So you can have like you can even blurry the edges, but the center of the face, for example, should be really sharp in terms of detail. I don't agree with that. Actually, I will say just detail everything you can, unless you have like a background is clearly out of focus, that you don't want to put a lot of detail in there because out of sight. But then you have to compensate that with the amount of detail that you have in the foreground, which is the face of the character. So having a lot of detail on the character and then a very blurry background is actually creates a very interesting effect. And in that case, you will have a blurry edges on the character that will make more sense because everything else is blurred. Alright, so by this point I'm already just adding finishing touches. Even that the image doesn't look that detailed, I'm trying to, lately what I've been doing is I'm quitting the process. I'm trying to think of like, okay, so if I put 1 more hour painting this, is it gonna look way different than it looks right now? Probably, it will happen, but chances are that it's not going to change that much. It will only look like with more detail. And since this image is not supposed to be like in a poster of the size of a wall, it's actually an image for Instagram or something like that, I don't need to detail it that much because it's going to be really small. So obviously if you make the detail, it will look better, but it won't change that much. So this is the final image. I cut it a little bit to give it a style on the more like a presentation kind of thing. I name him Tuklat. I don't know why really. It sounded like that's his name, and that's the reasoning behind the name. And then I think I just added a little bit more of saturation, and that's it. I really like the result. Okay, so to finish this video of today, I want to share the work from Ed Science. If you want to share your art in the sharing your art group, you can just click on the link in the description and send your art there. And if I like it, you don't have to be at any level at all. You can be starting, you can be a pro, whatever. You can just share your art in there, and I will share it here. And then you can also please follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, and I'm also sharing the channel from a friend. It's called Barrus Studio, but it's in Spanish, so beware of that. So if you are actually interested in learning ZBrush, that's the best channel you can go, but it's in Spanish, so beware of that. Alright guys, thank you very much and see you next time.